So, once again, guys, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Jordan. I'm a trader inside the Traders Academy Club. And in the Friday sessions, we basically go over the things we've been following inside our report, which looks like this basically. All right. And we have some comments here, but we are going to focus on that table where we have all the opportunities with the screenshots. So, starting with Aussie franc. Now this one, since the trendline breakout, we started looking for the buys, and any pullback here, we said we're looking for buys, and we remain under bullish pressure. However, we have now reached a critical level here. Okay, and what we are trying to do now is most likely going to trade the pullbacks, and then we expect a continuation to the upside. Okay, so basically something like that, the bigger cycle here. That's the one we're referring to. And going back to the chart, to the live chart, we can also see that the price is now reaching that critical high that we previously had, and it actually managed to break above it. The good part is that the MAs are already also pushing above, which means we do have that bullish pressure. So from that stage further, we are basically looking for pullbacks and buys. And of course, if we identify something interesting for the short term, we can even enjoy the sales, right? But keep in mind, going against the main trend is usually aggressive trading, right? We want to be trading inside the trend. So this is why we're expecting the pullbacks. We have the trend line, we have the highs, we have pretty stable levels here, and that entire push up did not provide any major pullbacks, which means sooner or later we need to see some bigger and stronger corrections. Now, whether this is going to be from that zone or slightly higher from one more push, we don't know yet, as we don't have any confirmations for the reversals to happen, not reversals for the deeper pullbacks. And this is basically what we will be focusing and waiting for starting next week. All right, back to the chart. Aussie Kiwi, next one, pretty much similar situation. We did push higher, we managed to create the conversions, higher highs, and so on and so on. And what's interesting in this case, I would say more interesting even than the Aussie franc, is this cycle. Okay, we now have officially big, nice impulsive move here. That impulsive move is already testing the 161.8 of the FIBO, and on daily chart, as you can see, we again managed to create higher highs, and that's why I say it's better than Aussie franc, because things here look slightly clearer, at least to me. I mean, it's obvious that we have this strong bullish momentum. So again, same story. We want to see pullbacks that we can be buying. Remaining bullish, guys. That's the whole idea. We do remain bullish. Same story. We want to see these divergences being completed. Whether this is going to be happening after one more push here, clearing against stops from the spike or double top or something, we want to see pullbacks that we can go ahead and buy. Safe, I really hope so, that this is going to be the case. My recommendation, if you're new to the club, is to open any of these reports and go over this, well, basically mandatory webinars. They cover big part of what we're doing, maybe not completely, but I would say 70–80% of the things we're discussing are covered here. How we determine the flow of the money, the cycles, the directions, the bigger time frames, which is always step number one. How we confirm a possible reversal, so short-term pullbacks, entries, all that. So my suggestion is start from here, cover all that, step by step, make sure you understand all of that completely, okay? And things will start becoming clearer, I'm sure. All right, moving on. Aussie dollar is the next one. This is still unclear to me. That's one idea here. He's basically looking for the buys, and as you can see, we only have daily chart at our disposal, which means the lower time frames are not completely clear and readable, but overall that's the idea, looking for the buys. Now what we can update in that case here for the Aussie dollar is this. We are getting divergences and convergences, and that means since we have reached that level here, okay, deeper pullbacks might be now expected. By deeper pullbacks, I mean something like this. Let's not forget the trend line that is waiting for us at the bottom. If we force it a bit, we can even go ahead and create a channel here. Okay, so if we get something like that, it would be very interesting opportunity for the actual buys. We have plenty of levels coming closer to this trend line. And of course, we're going to be following inner cycles inside that possible move to the down. That could be providing us with the buy opportunities. Okay. One more question. Is this website only for members? Yes, it is. Okay. Then Cat Franc. We were looking for buys during the week. That was basically our idea. Move coming to this zone right here, clearing levels, creating false breaks, pullbacks. I was actually expecting here deeper pullbacks, to be honest, because the buys would have been much better from that zone. But unfortunately, we don't always get what we want, right? And what we wish for, our plan. But anyways, the idea remains bullish. And we can see that here clearly. This is the cycle that we're following, continuation to the upside. And going back to the chart, we can see that there is now a trend line on the way. There is also this very, very good level, slightly above the 100 zone, which in other words means, at least to me, that I see two scenarios. Scenario number one would be something like that. Okay, pullback, gaining some momentum for the bulls, joining new buyers to this trend, okay, from these levels, let's say, and then to get this breakout officially, to go ahead and reach that zone, to go ahead, clear that level, maybe even the spike reaching the 161.8, so something like that. Could be a very, very interesting idea. This is, of course, the 4-hour chart idea that I will be following. Scenario number one. Scenario number two, of course, is not getting these deeper pullbacks, but immediately from this zone, continuation up, creating here an extended middle leg, then pullbacks and continuation. So that would be basically my plan and idea for this one. Cat Franc, bullish guys. Okay, we have on the weekly chart big range. This range could be also seen here as a range of some sort of dynamic one using trend lines. There are multiple possibilities, that's why I did not put them on the chart, But since we managed to reach the bottom here on the last attempt, the idea would be to see the top of it. Okay, and zooming out a bit, maybe even going to weekly, to monthly chart, sorry, we can start following the previous cycle from the monthly here, which means this is what we can be expecting. So basically bullish, bullish, bullish. We're focusing on the buy side. Then what do we have? Euro Aussie. The range that we want to see is, sorry guys, can you hear me? Mo, sorry, should be, okay, maybe it was interruption in the internet or something. All right, Euro Aussie, the range that we want to see broken is somehow not delivering, at least not according to my rules and everything that I'm following to get the breakout the way I wanted to see it. The only thing we do have at the moment is these MAs, which are starting to push lower, and the price obviously is moving lower and slowly trying to crawl down, but we don't have the immediate push. Let's say that's a range, then you have breakout, any pullback and continuations, right? This is the kind of breakouts I'm looking for. In that case, it's still somehow tricky, and well, don't love it. That's our plan, to see the actual breakout, or from this zone push, clearance, and then continuation in order to gain finally the momentum, the real momentum. And that did not yet happen. We're still stuck in the very same zones. I mean, if we look at it on daily chart, that's what we get in the past few weeks, right? Basically nothing. Arranging, fighting that zone. And let me just quickly remind you where we stand on the higher time frames. That's the level. False break 1, false break 2, divergences on the way. Beautiful spike that cleared the zone for stops. And now that's our idea, to continue lower. And the very first cycle we're going to focus on is a possible double wave to the downside. From the double wave, whether we're going to extend for something like this or something like that, we don't know yet, but we know the direction is bearish. And that's why on the lower time frames, we want to identify the given cycles, we want to identify the money flow, we want to get setups in this given direction. Any setup for buys here is aggressive. If the setup is aggressive, we use smaller risks, and ideally we want to be managing our position, because the expectation is for the price to give you that pullback and at some point continue lower. Okay, again, we might have plans, but our plans are not always materializing on the chart, right? And that's why I'm saying it's better to have manual management when it comes to aggressive entries, which means basically to be around the computer or set stops, alerts, anything to give you the clue what's happening on the chart and if you need to act on that. All right, so here are the images we just covered in live, so I guess no need to go ahead and do that again. Euros, where is it here? EuroCAD is another pair that we're following now. Again, this is what's idea. During the week, my idea was to get the price pushing lower, and as long as we're holding the trend line, continue looking for these buys. The trend line was broken, which means the buy plan invalidated. Okay, we didn't have any setups there, and now we did get the breakout here, But for me, this is not entirely clear, guys. Okay, I must be honest here and admit that. And the reason is simple. Okay, we got the breakout with divergence on the 1-hour chart, and then attempt here to create convergence. The convergence actually happened inside that zone, which already started pushing lower. So another question mark whether this is a classical convergence or not. And from there on, I might start expecting, I do expect, not might, I do expect to see a possible range. Okay, that for me is indecisiveness in the market. Also the time factor, we have holidays, we have Easter across the world. We do expect volumes to drop, so I would play it careful. Okay, and for me that would be neutral according to Vlad's idea. If you're following Vladimir's idea, that remains bearish. Okay, trendline breakout is now holding, so up to you to decide which way you would like to go ahead and trade it if you're going to trade it at all. Hans, you don't trade indicators? Pure price action? Perfect. I do always follow price action first. Okay, I do believe that price action is the king and everything hides inside of it. But when you involve indicators, and I learned how indicators can help me, it really becomes better. Well, at least for me. I mean, it depends on how your curve moves, right? If it's not helping, remove them. But for me, it does help and I can read the chart better. I do consider the candle wicks, why wouldn't I? Well, I'm not sure I understand what you're asking here. Are you referring to, what are you referring to? All right, moving forward, if you put more details, railroads. Again, if you put more details, we can go ahead and discuss it, but I really don't understand what you mean here. But wicks are considered always. Euro franc. Now that was a magnificent push. Okay, I did not expect it. I was waiting for pullbacks around this level. Then we had the inner trend line from inside this bigger pattern to provide some pullbacks to join. No, nothing. So if any of you managed to catch it for manual trading or strategies, well done. That was a perfect push. Now, where is the chart? Now we're reaching a very interesting level here. Okay, spikes, top of the range, and all that. And I do expect to see actually slowing down, and these few candles here show that. But after this slowdown, I do expect to see one more push higher, clearing that zone on the top, and then deeper pullbacks. Okay, so scenario number one for me here would be flat consolidation triangle or so, one more push, then deeper pullback and continuation. And of course, scenario number two would be vice versa. Instead of this range here, to get the deeper pullback immediately, and from that zone to get the continuation. Okay, but regardless of which way it happens, I still expect to see bullish moves. It is also interesting to go ahead and check out the weekly chart here. because we do have something that reminds triple cycle or special cycle more likely, right? And since we completed that divergence, guys, and that takes us to this place where we have triple, double range. Okay, whether this is dynamic range or flat range doesn't really matter. It is 3 plus 2, and the possibilities for further continuation up are good. Okay, that's why confirming that whole idea with this move, this is the bigger picture that we can start following, and that's why we would like to see actually the deeper pullbacks coming inside that zone. That will provide us with nice bullish opportunities. Okay, so Euro franc bullish. Next one on the list is Euro pound, where we are following the range and we want to see sales based on this range. By the way, the higher time frames are that's not going to open for some reason, but basically we're following a continuation to the downside, and we can see that on the live chart now. So the big range, we want to see the bottom of it. The breakouts are here, the momentum is here. Daily chart, we saw that in the image already, and this is the 4-hour chart. That's the top of the range, the micro one, the middle range after the breakout that formed. Multiple false breaks, multiple divergences, bearish pressure obviously in place. And here again we have two scenarios. That would be false convergence, which means break below that low should be opening the doors for the sales. And this is the least preferred scenario. Why? Because then we're losing all these pips, right? And we want to be conservative. What is waiting for this trend line to be broken before the further attacks? My idea is to squeeze the price from the top of the channel, from the top of this range, and attack here. So the preferred way, which I would like to see happening now, is to get one more push, clearing the top of the zone, basically that one and these levels, maybe even that spike. I wouldn't mind that at all. And then continuation lower. So this way we'll be able to attack from much higher. Well, in terms of pips, it's not that much. It's 20 pips or so, right? But why lose it? Why give it away if the market can provide us with a better opportunity? So two scenarios, either break here or push another divergence to form and then looking for the most recent lows to be broken in order to enjoy. Then, of course, we have the bottom of the range where we can go ahead and cash out the first parts. And for the long run, after the breakout, that's the level. Okay, so you can see beautiful risk-reward ratio for the smaller parts of our positions if the market provides us with such opportunity, of course. All right, so that's Euro pound. Then we have Euro Kiwi, which managed to bounce from the daily chart. Okay, right here, and created this massive push to the upside. And we were after buying retraces, and that worked out and delivered pretty good. Now I do see this kind of cycle being developed. This is also the FIBO zone, 100 zone cleared. Okay, and we're missing just a few pips, the 161.8. All right, so looks great. First divergence was there. Managed to form false convergence afterwards, and since this cycle is being completed, and this is a triple cycle, and we're trying to break above, still holding no closes above, but that was the first attempt. So whether something like that or from that zone immediately giving the push The possibility for continuation, in my opinion, is good. Why? Because again of this impulsive move here, and continuation is focusing on the buys with short-term bearish expected to give the pullbacks now. Okay. Next one on the list is your door. Looking to buy retraces, however, I don't see this one yet as a bullish opportunity. All right. Why is this messed up? Okay. This kind of move doesn't look very corrective, guys. And again, going back to price action alone, okay, that hidden divergence from this place broken. So the move down is very serious, and I wouldn't be rushing into the buys yet. On the higher time frames, we're holding above these critical levels. That's obvious. And as long as we do, we can still be looking for the buys, but again, be patient. And what I had here with the lines before that is something like this that I'm following. So having an impulsive move during what is supposed to be a correction becomes riskier and trickier. And you know how to handle it, guys. If we complete this kind of move and then we get the reversal sense in order to start looking for the buys, we can do that because of the higher time frames, of course. But watch out for this kind of structures, which is the ABCD pattern that might be providing this move, right? We've covered that many times. So if we're going to be looking for the buys after an impulsive bearish move, careful. Okay, the market is telling you something, so we need to listen and act accordingly. That's about euro dollar. Looking for bullish opportunities. Pound cut. Many trend lines could be drawn inside. The idea here is to see continuation up, and when we go to the actual chart, we can also see the 4-hour chart range here. We had one losing position during the week. Where was that? I think it was breakout on the 1-hour chart right here somewhere. Okay, which pushed and then cleared stops. But overall, we are still holding above the not the buy line, the bullish trend line. There is an alternative trend line from the lows, and basically we're coming to a good level. There is something that we need to consider as well, and that's this kind of ABCD. Okay, here. So pound cut remains bullish, but at that stage I don't have a clear view on how to enter. All right, so bullish but without trading setups, at least not for myself. Any ideas on what entries we can use here, guys? Anything that comes to mind? Nothing at all. All right, cool. So we move on. Pound franc. One more push and continuation lower, and that's the bigger picture on daily chart. Okay, so basically again we're following for ABCD and then move or immediate continuation, but we need to see a breakout above that zone first of all. So why do we look for this push to the downside? Because of the bearish pressure. Okay, the price is not able to create the breakout, to create the push up and continue immediately, at least not at that stage. So we continue following that. Okay, we had one spike before with multiple levels, and that spike was now cleared and reached. Histogram divergence all over the place, no MA's divergence, or if there is any, it's very tiny, but I don't see it. So that's pretty much the idea. And of course, invalidation zone above, if we get the breakout with the momentum, then we might consider starting looking for the buys. We have the trend line and so on. But until that happens and that zone holds and the bearish pressure holds, we know that the direction we should be focusing on is bearish. And by the way, the risk reward ratio here, even towards the bottom, is not bad at all. Not bad at all. The breakout of the most recent trend line pound cut. The most recent trend line would be this one. For buys, you mean, right? That could be one, but in that case, I don't really like the risk reward ratio. And yeah, it could be done. It could be done. Let's measure it. It's approximately 180, yeah, versus 310. Could be, or alternatively to that, we might wait for this push, pullbacks to improve the risk reward ratio a bit, and then looking for the buys. Might be done. The problem I do see in this case is that we got here this, okay? We got the reversal patterns on the lower time frames, and we never managed to cross that high. Okay, so technically speaking, we started creating lower highs, lower highs, lower highs inside this range. And once that happens, usually this is the very first sign of possible breakout to this direction. Okay, the price is not being able to reach the top of the range as it's supposed to do inside the ranges, right? So once it starts slowing down, it is telling you it's probably going to break in this given direction. In our case, that would be the bearish one. That being said, this is why I don't have a clear view again on this one, because since we couldn't break above that high, this is the new high, and if that high is broken, then the only way to join is with corrections. And I would like to see this one broken, not the trend line, just to be on the safe side, of course. So let's see if that happens or not, or we go lower, then we can look for the next possible opportunities, but too early to judge at that stage how to trade it, in my opinion. You're welcome. Okay, pound franc, pound cut, covered. Then we have Kiwi cat, which managed to deliver some nice profits. We wanted to see the pullback here. That was a very interesting situation that we covered during the week, compared to Kiwi franc, of course. Why we wanted to sell this one and not the other one, because of the false breaks and the levels and all that. So of course news helped here and pushed the price lower. The setup we were discussing was on the 1 hour chart, right here with the double top and the breakout. But overall, let's check out the current situation, guys. Now we're at the bottom of this range, okay? There is clearly momentum forming and no breakout yet. 61.8, slightly lower. And overall, we can say we're looking for bearish continuation. It's nice because on the weekly chart, the trend line was tested twice. Okay, this is where the range started forming actually, and there was a divergence here, which is pushing the price lower. And now we see indications on the daily chart that we're going to see the breakout. The only question for me is how to enter. And the answer is Since we reached the bottom, why did I change that? Since we reached the bottom, now we want to see either breakout, pullbacks, and continuations, or we want to see deeper pullback and then continuations. Okay? But definitely not going to buy right above the support. In terms of cycles, we can go ahead and see there is a triple cycle here. So again, if I had to say which one I prefer, I would be preferring this kind of situation. Bounce inside of it, okay, bouncing from this zone, creating here possibly an ABCD pattern, something like that, hidden divergences to form, and looking for the attacks. Why? Because if we get the breakout, then you have much more room to enjoy. And if the breakout happens immediately and you try to sell the pullbacks, then you're simply selling lower. That's all. But whichever is provided, if any of those are provided, I will be happy to be there and trade it. All right. Then Kiwi Cat. Dollar franc is reaching very interesting levels. We've been following this pair for possible sells that week in the previous week for this kind of pattern, okay, towards the parity level. After the breakout, neutral, and then we got this huge, massive push to the upside. And why I'm saying it becomes interesting is because the 4-hour chart definitely creates some sort of momentum. The problem is we're stuck in a range, so we can't really rely on that. But on the other hand, the two recent highs are now cleared and the price managed to close above it. We do have trend line, alternative trend line from this pattern here, the triangle range or whatever you want to call it, doesn't matter. We have a level. And this zone was never yet reached, guys. Okay, looking at the weekly chart, let me just remove that. Looking at the weekly chart, we have a massive drop down with two cycles here. Okay, actually second one is a double cycle, but either or, that's a double wave and then this. So creating another double wave here would make a lot of sense. That's why, in my opinion, we can easily look for possible breakouts of this zone now. Of course, that's monthly chart and weekly charts. It could take a lot of time to develop, like a few months or so. And on the lower time frames, we can still be enjoying the short-term moves, right? We have the level, but we don't have any other confirmations, and that's the problem for the sells yet. I won't be selling here. I do expect pullbacks or flat range consolidation, but the way it looks at the moment, I definitely see it coming with one more push higher. Strong level or not, the least I'm going to do is not sell at that stage. So really interesting in my opinion. If we get this kind of breakouts, well, that will be opening the doors. I mean, look at it, this is stuck in this range for years now. Okay, this pattern here, so breakouts could be really volatile for us. So that's about dollar franc. Basically short term, if we find any reason for sales, we can enjoy it. Okay, but keep in mind also the higher time frames that we have room upside, so long term we can be seeing some nice bullish moves there. Cut franc, 4-hour chart, double top, possible pullback to trend line. Let's check it out. Did we cover it? Cut franc, double top, divergence 100% towards the trend line. Yeah, could be. but the only way for me to attack corrective cycles is with reversal patterns. At the moment, I don't see anything. 1 hour chart reversal pattern would be only here. The only way for us to find such pattern would be 15-minute chart. Okay, so combining 15 minutes with 4 hour is already too aggressive, and that would really call for conservative entries only. But yes, definitely. I mean, the level is here, trend line is here, pullbacks expected, absolutely. Thanks for sharing that. Cool, dollar franc, dollar yen. Now, isn't that a mystery? What is expecting one more push higher than possible continuation lower? And that's what we have on the daily chart. And that's indeed the part that becomes tricky. I also expected to create one more push higher here and do something like that. But currently, I wouldn't be buying, even though I expect here. I only would be looking for possible sells, midterm, and then continuation for the long term for the buys. Why wouldn't I go ahead and buy it? Because we have the previous spike, we have amazing resistance zone, which if broken is very likely to happen very fast. Okay, and that's the next level that I want to see. Alternatively, if it's not going to be broken and we just get the false breaks, we don't have enough room. Either or, I don't feel comfortable dealing with these kind of situations. Plus, the daily chart is already under strong bearish pressure. So any push upwards, in my opinion, is going to be limited. And if I know and expect that, why would I be trading it, right? So 4 hour chart is currently inside this consolidation. This is basically what we might be looking at next week, maybe even today. No idea, but that would be my plan. So mid-term sells, longer term, slightly longer term buys. All right, that's about dollar yen. Indices and commodities, starting with gold, silver, oil, guys. Dow wave, possible continuation upwards based on the cycles that we got here, right? Now let's go back to the action chart. The cycles that I'm following are this one and that one. The levels, manual levels that I'm following are right here, and that basically comes closer to the 100% of the big one. So basically that cycle, and that's the zone I would love to see being reached. Okay, the trend line is still holding, everything is still in place. Basically, short-term pullbacks should be in play here. 4 hour chart is already giving us the divergences, right? So that's divergence number 1. Now we have divergence number 2. That's the very same trend line we've been discussing just now. And level. Now this level is absolutely fascinating, and it's very easy to trade when we have such zones. Why? Because when you get the price there, let's say from below, currently we are below it, if you get the divergences, if you get the inner cycles, attacking is, well, easy, child's game, right? Protection slightly above in order to cover possible spikes that can clear stops. And if you get the breakout, that's also very easy to be identified. We usually get this kind of price action and behavior from the market. So even if you're not using a stop loss, hard stop loss, you can clearly see it breaking. I wouldn't suggest though to leave your position open unless you're all the time around the PC. But even in that case, I mean, imagine you're not looking at it for 15 minutes or 1 hour, and then something happens and the price flies and doesn't is just not good. So in my opinion, it should be always protected somehow. But let's stay on the subject. Short-term sells, okay, could be still a possibility towards this zone. And then, of course, if we get the confirmations for the reversal, we are going to be looking at possible buys and continuation based on the previous cycle here. That pretty much applies for silver as well. More or less same levels. Now here I do like that zone. Okay, so I would love to see the price clearing that zone, trying to break below it, and that would be the optimal place to look for the possibilities to buy. There is a new trend line that has formed here on this cycle. So short-term expectations for the sales, then continuation upwards. This one for sales, I don't like that much, simply because we're still stuck inside the level. This is basically the beginning of that, what is for us at the moment supportive zone. Okay, so it could start like this, it could start like that, and bouncing is always the first thing we can assume, not breakout, especially when we have the divergence, right? We covered that also many times. So that's why the sells for me here are not the preferred direction. Where is my oil chart? Mr. Oil is something we've been following, and now finally it starts to look very, very nice. 65 zone is where the 100% is. Consolidation currently forming on the lower time frames. We covered that many times, that we still, even though we have 4 times the price checking and testing that zone, we don't see the momentum to the downside. Okay, we simply don't see it, and that's why the expectation is after this consolidation to see another push up. Now, if we go ahead and clear that psychological round number, the 60, that would be also the 100%. This is divergence number 1. We now have multiple double or 4 tops, I don't know how to call it, with again bearish pressure. So clearing that zone once again, wherever it's going to stop, then we have a beautiful entry idea for the short-term sales. Well, short-term could be mid-term, okay, because that's daily, and that could develop for a few weeks. Okay, this kind of bearish move here, and that's basically the idea. Looking for something like that to happen and start the attacks. 3M is CFD. We have capital M. Yes. This one is pushing higher. Basically, the idea here is top of the range, which is now trying to break above, and it's actually breaking above. But the idea was that cycle on daily, top of the range, divergences. Cycle on the 4-hour chart, divergence is still holding, and that means break below could be a very interesting risk-reward trade for us to enjoy, and that's the ticker of the symbol. So if you're into CFDs, you might be interested. That's all, guys. That's basically the whole list we've been looking at that week. Again, happy holidays if you're going to celebrate it, if not next week. And that's all. Wishing you a wonderful weekend. Bye for now.